Melania Trump has gone from her role as a beautiful model to First Lady.
Melania Trump's flawless look has always been natural. But what if it's not the full truth that you know? What if she had to undergo some help that lifted her face to glow more higher? From her time as a model to becoming the First Lady, Melania has faced intense public scrutiny over her appearance. Some believe her beauty is all natural, while others speculate about possible plastic surgery.
We can see there is a suspicion in my mind that she's undergone some surgery.
And if it is, then what could have cost her this far? In today's video, we'll take a closer look at her facial transformation and uncover the estimated costs of potential procedures. Looking back at Melania Trump in 1987, at the age of 17, she looked like a striking young woman with natural beauty that carried an effortless charm. Her full eyebrows framed her face perfectly, and her almond-shaped eyes gave her an intriguing, almost mysterious look. There was an undeniable softness to her features, yet her nose held a certain character, its tip slightly bulbous, a feature that gave her face a unique harmony. Her lips, balanced, with the lower one fuller than the upper, offered a graceful symmetry, contributing to the overall allure of her face. Her bone structure was particularly notable. Her cheekbones were defined, giving her face strength, and her jawline was sharp and prominent, giving her a naturally sculpted appearance. These features combined to form a striking, balanced beauty that seemed to speak of timelessness. It was clear that even at such a young age, she possessed the kind of features that would later captivate the public. But there was also something distinctly authentic about her appearance. No signs of the polished perfection that would come later in life. The transformation we would later see in Melania's appearance would be the result of countless choices she made over the years. It was in 1998 that Melania Trump, then a 28-year-old model, appeared with facial features that hinted at a natural elegance. Yet something about her look caught the attention of observers. Her face, like many in the 90s, was defined by subtle, sharp features. The thin eyebrows were a signature of that era, and her hairline formed a noticeable widow's peak that added a certain mystique to her appearance. What stood out more were the proportions of her face. Her upper horizontal third seemed a little longer than both her mid-face and lower face, giving her a distinct profile. As if one examined her features, one could notice the refined contours of her nose. The bulbous tip she once had appeared to have undergone a transformation, now looking more sculpted and balanced with the rest of her features. The bridge of her nose also appeared smoother, with the once pronounced dorsal hump significantly reduced. Many suspected that this change may have been the result of a rhinoplasty procedure, possibly done earlier in her life, perhaps between her teenage years and her late 20s. This type of surgery, often performed for cosmetic reasons, involves narrowing the bridge, removing bumps, and reshaping the tip to achieve a more harmonious facial structure. For Melania, this transformation was a subtle yet significant shift, one that possibly went unnoticed by most, yet crafted the iconic look she would later become known for. From the perspective of a keen observer, someone who had closely followed Melania Trump's public image transformation over the years, there was an undeniable shift in her appearance during the late 1990s, particularly in 1999 when she was just 29 years old. Looking at photos from that time, one couldn't help but notice a subtle yet intriguing asymmetry in her face. Her left side appeared slightly elevated compared to the right, a small but noticeable difference when one examined the alignment of her eyebrows, the orbit level, the nasal structure, and even the corners of her mouth. It was an imperfection, yes, but an imperfection that most people possess to some degree. In fact, facial asymmetry is a common trait found in every individual, and it is only under the harsh scrutiny of the public eye that such details come into sharper focus. What also caught our attention were the changes in her lips. Around this period, Melania's lips seemed to be fuller, particularly her upper and lower lips. As a beauty enthusiast with some knowledge of cosmetic procedures, we couldn't help but think this might be the work of lip fillers. But this was 1999, long before hyaluronic acid fillers like Restylane became FDA approved in 2003. At the time, the common injectables were collagen and micro-droplet silicone. The volume in her lips hinted at these older, more widely used materials, which had been popular choices for those seeking fuller lips and smoother contours. In 2000, when Melania Trump was 30, the changes in her appearance subtly hinted at the possibility of plastic surgery, specifically rhinoplasty. From a frontal view, there was a noticeable shift in the shape of her nose, with the nostrils becoming more visible. This is a typical effect after a rhinoplasty procedure, particularly when the surgeon elevates the nasal tip, which causes the nostrils to be more prominent. If you looked closely, you could observe the marks where the bony structure of her nose had likely been altered. The bridge of her nose appears narrower, a sign of osteotomies, where the bone is precisely cut to achieve a slimmer profile. Furthermore, there were indications of what is often referred to as open roof deformity, a condition that can occur when the hump of the nose is reduced, resulting in a flatness along the nasal bridge. To correct this and restore the three-dimensional, pyramid-like structure of the nose, surgeons would have used osteotomies to reposition the bones, bringing them together more harmoniously. These signs, subtle yet present, tell the story of a carefully crafted transformation that many might not have noticed at first glance, but it was clear that her nose had undergone a precise and professional change. As we reflect on Melania Trump's transformation, it's evident that her appearance evolved over time in ways that intrigue those of us who closely observe the subtleties of beauty and cosmetic procedures. In 2002, at the age of 32, we noticed something striking. When Melania simply parted her lips, her upper teeth became clearly visible, a detail that many of us might overlook in a passing glance.
First Lady Melania Trump had kidney surgery today at Walter Reed Medical Center outside of Washington. The Trump administration made the announcement late this afternoon.
What stood out even more, though, was the subtle change in her philtrum, the distance between the base of the nose and the tip of the Cupid's bow. It wasn't as long in her younger years, and we couldn't help but wonder if this lengthening was the result of the natural aging process, which can often cause skin to stretch and expand. This, in turn, might elongate the philtrum. Yet, there was also a different possibility that lingered in our mind: rhinoplasty. We've seen it happen in other cases. When the nose is surgically altered, especially the tip, the connection between the orbicularis muscle around the lips and the base of the nose can be affected. This release of tension sometimes leads to the philtrum lengthening. At 33, Melania Trump's skin was undeniably radiant, a smooth canvas that many would envy. It was a skin that seemed to defy the natural effects of time, appearing as if untouched by age or stress. Some may attribute it to natural genetics, but there's more than meets the eye. She had perfected the art of skincare, nourishing her complexion with the best products available, ensuring its protection against the sun and environmental stresses. Yet, in the world of beauty and self-care, even the most stunning faces are often a result of careful enhancement. While genetics certainly played a role, Melania's routine was far from simple. Behind her flawless appearance was a commitment to her skin, a regimen of moisturizing, cleansing, and protecting, coupled with a selection of high-quality products. These weren't just off-the-shelf brands. They were the result of meticulous work with skilled chemists and manufacturers, developed to create lasting effects on skin health and beauty. It wasn't just about looking good, but feeling confident in the skin she had worked so hard to care for. As we look back to 2004, when Melania Trump was 34, we couldn't help but notice something different in her appearance. Her cheeks are notably fuller, and it's hard not to wonder whether she's had some cosmetic enhancements. There's an almost uncanny symmetry to both sides of her face, a level of regularity that stands out. The projection of her cheeks seems more pronounced than what one would expect from regular filler injections alone. It's almost as if something more permanent might have been done, maybe cheek implants. The fullness and contour of her cheeks are just so strikingly defined, making me think that the subtle yet noticeable changes could have come from a more involved procedure. Alternatively, we consider the possibility that she may have opted for fat transfer, or maybe even hyaluronic acid, HA filler, to refine and amplify the natural curves of her cheekbones. Whatever the procedure, it's clear that Melania's transformation had a purpose: to emphasize her already beautiful features with a touch of enhancement. In 2005 to 2006, at the age of 35 to 36, there was no change, and that was the same through 2006 as well. Melania Trump's evolving appearance over the years, particularly focusing on the noticeable changes to her eyes starting in 2007. At the age of 37, it became apparent that Melania's eyes began to take on a more distinctive shape, appearing smaller compared to her earlier years. This change was subtle but undeniable, and it led many to speculate about the reasons behind this transformation. We believe a few possibilities could explain the shift in her look. First, we'd consider the potential for a canthoplasty or lateral brow lift. Both of these procedures are designed to enhance the appearance of the eyes, and they can create what many people refer to as a cat eye effect. By lifting and elongating the sides of the eyes, the overall shape becomes more almond-like. This would give Melania a more defined and striking gaze, but the side effect of this procedure is that it can also make the eyes appear smaller due to their elongation. Additionally, it's likely that Melania began using Botox around this time, targeting areas such as the forehead, the glabella, the area between the eyebrows, and the crow's feet around her eyes. Botox works by relaxing the muscles, smoothing wrinkles, and preventing further lines from forming, giving her face a more youthful and refreshed appearance. The combination of these treatments might explain why her eyes began to appear more narrowed, with a sharper, more sculpted contour to her face. Now first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you. In 2008, when Melania Trump was 38 years old, there were subtle yet noticeable changes to her appearance. To some, her eyes seemed smaller. While many speculated about the effects of surgery, there was also another theory that couldn't be overlooked: the potential impact of Botox. It wasn't just the canthoplasty or brow lift that could have played a role in altering her look. It was the neurotoxin itself that might have had unintended consequences. Botox, as we know, is often used to smooth out wrinkles and relax muscles, but one side effect of heavy injections into the frontalis muscle, the muscle that lifts the eyebrows, could be the drooping of the brows. As this happened, the brows would begin to weigh more heavily on her eyes, making them appear smaller. It was a delicate balance, the tension between lifting and relaxing, and it seemed to subtly shift the way her eyes were perceived. Perhaps it wasn't just one factor that led to the change. It could have been the combination of a brow lift, Botox, and the natural aging process that all played a role in altering her gaze. It was a small shift, but one that did not go unnoticed, as the transformation was as much about the details as it was about the bigger picture of beauty and youth that Melania cultivated over time. In 2009, at the age of 39, there was no change, and that was the same throughout 2012. As we evaluate the changes that occur with aging, even for someone like Melania Trump, who has maintained a striking appearance throughout the years, the effects of gravity cannot be entirely escaped. In 2012, at the age of 42, it's evident that she, like many others, was beginning to notice the first signs of natural aging, specifically in the form of jowling. This is the area just below the jawline, where the skin starts to gather and become fuller. The cheek structure, which had once been taut and youthful, gradually shifts downward due to the inevitable pull of gravity, causing the soft tissue to lose its earlier definition. This descent of tissue contributes to the formation of jowls, a common change that happens as facial ligaments begin to loosen their grip. For Melania, her strong bony structure, particularly around the midface and lower jaw, acts as a protective barrier. It prevents her from experiencing more severe sagging, allowing her to age gracefully with subtlety. These characteristics, combined with her approach to maintaining her youthful appearance, would likely prompt her to explore options that help preserve her delicate features, enhancing her natural beauty without drastic changes. In 2013, at the age of 43, there were no changes to her appearance. The transformation she underwent in 2014 seemed subtle yet undeniable. At 44, Melania was no longer the same youthful figure that had first graced the spotlight years ago. You could see the changes slowly creeping in, subtle lines forming across her forehead, and her eyes starting to open in ways they hadn't before. In private moments, there was a sense of carefulness about her, perhaps even a touch of self-awareness about the passage of time. A slight heaviness began to settle on her eyebrows, something that could have been the first sign of the natural aging process taking hold. But Melania, ever the perfectionist, had always been one to maintain control over her image. She didn't shy away from a touch of intervention, knowing full well the world she lived in was unforgiving in terms of beauty standards. It seemed like she opted for less Botox, just enough to ease the lines around her forehead, restoring some of the lift in her brows that had begun to fade. This small change allowed her eyes to regain their signature openness, perhaps not as wide as they had once been, but certainly more awake and alert. In 2015, at the age of 45, there were no changes made by her, and that's the same through 2017. In 2018, Melania Trump was 48 years old, and the natural aging process had begun to show subtle signs of wear. The skin on her neck, once smooth and taut, was starting to reveal the inevitable effects of time. For some people, like Melania, the platysma bands in the neck became more visible, a reminder of the passage of time. But for someone of her stature, with the pressure of maintaining a flawless image, these changes couldn't be ignored. The solution? A range of options available to those with the resources and desire to maintain a youthful appearance. Botox injections, a less invasive route, could help weaken the muscles beneath the skin and soften the appearance of those bands. Yet, for someone like Melania, the more dramatic and definitive approach might have been an answer: surgery. Surgical procedures could target the platysma directly, cutting and repositioning the muscles to restore the neck's smoother look. It could be done on its own, but in Melania's case, it might have been part of a more comprehensive transformation, a facelift perhaps, to ensure her entire appearance matched the graceful elegance she was known for. In 2019, as she navigated the changes of aging, her face began to reflect subtle signs of this natural process. Around the corners of her lips, we noticed a slight downturn, a typical indicator of aging. It's something that happens to many of us as we enter our 40s and 50s. The cause? A combination of volume loss at the corners of the mouth, along with gravity's inevitable pull on the skin. Some people opt for Botox injections to target the DAO muscle, which causes the mouth corners to turn down, to combat this effect. Others go for more invasive procedures, such as a deep plane facelift, which works to lift and reposition the tissue from the inside. There's also a procedure called a grin lift, designed to remove a portion of skin at the commissure of the mouth to help lift this area. However, professionals say the grin lift is less desirable due to the scarring it leaves behind in such a prominent location. In 2020, at the age of 50, there was no change, and that was the same throughout 2021. It seems like Melania Trump's appearance in 2022 reflects subtle changes that suggest she might have undergone some cosmetic enhancements, though the specifics remain a bit elusive. At 52, we noticed her jawline appears smoother, a softer contour than before, and there's a noticeable reduction in the excess skin or banding around her neck. This could be a sign of a facelift, but the possibility of a non-surgical intervention can't be ruled out. Her ears, often hidden beneath her hair, make it difficult to determine if a facelift has affected the tragus or the ear shape itself. Without clear visibility, it's hard to say if this smoother appearance was achieved through surgery or something like a radio frequency procedure. Devices like these are commonly used to tighten skin and combat the early stages of aging, offering a less invasive alternative to surgery. They provide noticeable results without the scarring or recovery time of a facelift. In 2023, at the age of 53, we found no changes to her face, and it was the same throughout 2024. While some have speculated about subtle changes in her look, others believe that her beauty is simply the result of good genes and a rigorous skincare routine. What do you think? Has Melania's appearance remained untouched by surgery, or do the whispers of possible enhancements hold some truth? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates.